Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you what you need to do for Activity 8. So first of all, you need to open up a blank Google Sheet like you've been doing for the last several activities. And then you need to set up the Google Sheet in the way I'm showing right here. So in A1, right here, type in the word population. Then in B2, type in number of siblings. And right here, you're going to have an imaginary population of 4 people. So type in the numbers of siblings that I have right here, which are 1, 2, 2, 3. And then right here in C2, type in random ID. So I'm going to explain what this is right now. So this is going to allow you to take a random sample from this population. So in this box right here, type in equals, and then type in RAND for random, and then a left parentheses and then a right parentheses. It should look like this. And then press enter, and you'll get one random number between 0 and 1. After you do that, click on the cell and then hover above this bottom right corner right here where this little box is, and then drag it down. And then you'll get 4 random numbers between 0 and 1. And then under here, type in the word sample, and then type in number of siblings. And then right here, type in, well, actually right here, type in an equal sign. And then click on where it says person 1 right there. And it should say A3, which is just the cell number for person 1. And then press enter, and it'll say person 1. And then hover above this bottom right box right here, the bottom right corner, and drag down, and you'll get person 2. And make sure that these, when you click on these two cells, that they say A3 and A4 up here, because this is letting you know that this is actually just a duplicate of whatever is up here. So if you changed the number, if you changed the cell up here, A4, it would automatically update the cell down here. So like I said, this is just a duplicate of whatever A4 equals. So make sure that this says A3 and this one says A4 up here. And then right here, type in an equal sign. And then click on where it says 1 right here. And make sure that this, when you click right here, make sure it says B3, because that just means that it's carrying over the value from B3, which happens to be 1. And then drag it down. And make sure that this one says B4, which is just whatever happens to be in B4. If you don't want to do it by dragging like that, you could just do it this way. You could just type in equal, you could just go straight here and type in equals B3. And then right here, type in equals B4. And you can just do it that way by just typing it in manually like that. And then what you need to do now is highlight, first of all, highlight all of these values right here from A3 to A6, and then go up here to where it says data, and then sort range by, we'll just actually right here, sort range. Yeah, so make sure when you go to data, go to sort range right here, and then sort by column C, which is random ID, and sort from A to Z, which means it'll just sort them by from the lowest random ID up to the highest random ID, and then click sort. And what it does now is it'll randomly shuffle these these 4 rows, which means that these 2 rows down here are now a random sample of the population. So you took a random sample of 2 people, and I happened to get person 1 and person 4, but you might get a different sample. You might get 1 and 3, or you might get 2 and 3, for example. This is just what I ended up getting. And what you need to do now, after you've selected your random sample, is under here, type in mean and standard deviation, and get the mean and standard deviation of the population for number of siblings. So right here, type in equals, and then type in average. That's the same thing as mean. And then highlight the four numbers of siblings. Put a right parentheses. Right here it says equals average, B3 colon B6, and then a right parentheses. And then press enter. And you'll get the mean of the population, the average of all the population members. And then for standard deviation, type in equals STDEV dot P, which is for population, not for sample, because sample is n minus 1. Highlight all 4, and then close the parentheses. So equals STDEVP, in the parentheses B3 colon B6, and press enter. That's the standard deviation of the 4 population data values. Now what I need you to do is go down here and type in the word mean underneath your last sample ID right here, and then type in equals average, highlight the 2 values, and then close the parentheses like you did before, and you'll get the mean of your sample. So in this case, the sample has a mean of 2, just like the population. It just happened to turn out that way, but it didn't necessarily have to turn out that way. And you don't have to include the standard deviation of your sample. If I did have you do that, that would be using n minus 1. It would be stdev.s, but I'm not going to have you do that here. So what I'm going to have you do now is fill in the data values of your possible samples. So right here, type in an equal sign. So what we're looking at now are the possible samples of 2 people. So what you actually have to do first is set up everything exactly the way I have it set up right here. So type in the word possible samples up here, and then have sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, sample 5, sample 6. Like I said, set up your sheet exactly the way it looks inside this highlighted area right here. And when you're dealing with possible samples of 2 from a population of 4, the possible samples are always 1, 2. Let's see, they're actually always 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and then 2, 3, 2, 4, and 3, 4. Sorry, I just had to update those. Now what I need you to do is fill in the numbers of siblings. So right here, for person 1, type in an equal sign, and then click on the cell over here in the population for person 1, which is right here because person 1 has 1 sibling. So it's just carrying this over here. And then here for person 2, type in an equal sign, and then go back to the population, and then click on the numbers of siblings for person 2, which is right here, and it'll carry it over, equals B6. And now you just have to do this for all of these possible samples. And I'm actually going to pause the video and do it right now just to shorten the video, but it's just going to be me repeating this process for all 6 samples. So at this point, I've already entered all of the data values for siblings, and when I click on each of them, it gives me that reference number, like B6, for example. Make sure that it does that for you also. so that you know that these numbers are just being carried over from the population. And then after that, calculate the mean of each possible sample that could have been selected. So I'll do the first one for you. So here we have the mean of possible sample number 1. So here I'll type in mean. And then here I'll type in equals average. And then highlight the two values for this first sample, close the parentheses, then press enter. So here, this first possible sample of 2 people has a mean of 1.5. Now I'm going to do it for all 5 of the other possible samples of 2 people. So now I've calculated all 6 sample means of all 6 possible samples. Once you've done that, set this up over here like I did, where it says sampling distribution and samples 1 through 6 and mean and standard error. After you do that, click on this cell right here next to sample 1, type in an equal sign, and then click on the cell for the mean of sample 1, which is 1.5, and then to just do the same thing for all of the others. So here would be equals, and then the mean of sample 2, which happens to be over here, which would be the 1.5 again, and just do this for all 6 of them. So at this point, I already have my 6 sample means over here that I carried over. And when I click on each one, it gives me the reference number, like F6. At this point, I need to calculate the mean of the sampling distribution. So I type in equals right here, and then click and then type in average. And then highlight the 6 numbers, then close the parentheses, and then press enter. And notice how it comes out to the same number as the mean of the population. If they don't come out the same, then there must have been a mistake because the 2 numbers are supposed to be equal. And then here we have standard error. So this is going to be the standard deviation of the sampling distribution. So here type in equals stdev dot p, just like for the population standard deviation, and then highlight all 6 of these, and then press enter. So we're using the same formula we did over here for this standard deviation, and we get the standard error. And now what I'd like for you to do is duplicate this entire sheet. So go down here and right click and then duplicate, and you'll get something that'll say copy of sheet 1. And then what I'd like for you to do now is update the population by entering in different numbers of siblings. And the numbers can be whatever you want them to be, but what I'd like for you to do is increase the dispersion of the population so that the population standard deviation goes up, this number right here. And then when you do that, what will happen is all of these values, all of these numbers over here in the possible samples will all update automatically. And these numbers over here will also update automatically. And your mean and standard error will update automatically. Then what I'd like for you to do is duplicate again. And this time what I'd like for you to do is make all of the numbers of siblings the same number. So it can be whatever number you want, but make them all 4 of them the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just pick one number and make all 4 of them that same number. And then the population standard deviation will be 0. And then all of the numbers will automatically update again. And I'd like for you to also do the random sampling on each of the 3 sheets. So when you get to sheet number 2, your first copy, take a random sample of that population and repeat this again. And then on sheet 3, also take the random sample by using sort and do that again as well. So take the random sample from each of your 3 sheets. And finally, after you're finished with this 3rd sheet, I'd like for you to make a summary of all of your work. So click on plus right here, and it'll open up a new sheet. And at this point, I would like for you to make 3 diagrams side by side for each of your 3 sampling distributions. I'm actually going to have you do the last part on paper. It'll be easier. So just just title your 3 sheets activity 8, and then save this, and then you'll upload this along with the part that I'm about to describe. So the spreadsheet part will have 3 separate sheets, one for each of the ones that I've described. This is what I'd like for you to do after completing the 3 sheets that I just showed you how to complete. I'd like for you to take your own piece of paper and label sheet 1, or write the word sheet 1 right here, and then write the word population, and then right here put the mean and standard deviation, what it equaled in your first sheet, and just fill in the numbers right here. And then make a diagram right here of the 4 people in the population, of their numbers of siblings, and just make an X for each of the 4 data values, and number them 1 through 4 with the population ID numbers from your Google Sheet. And then make an X-axis, and it's up to you to decide what the appropriate tick mark should be, but just use tick marks that make sense, basically. And then circle your 2 selected population members, the 2 people that you actually selected in your random sample. Then make an arrow right here, and then just write mean of 2 random people, because you selected 2 people. Down here, write sampling distribution, and then write mean and standard error, and just fill in the 2 numbers for what they equaled in sheet 1. Then after that, make a diagram of your sampling distribution. Just use some tick marks that make sense and make an x-axis, and then put the 6 x's here for the 6 sample means, and then for the 6 possible samples, and then circle the sample mean that goes along with the sample that you actually selected. So if you go back to my Google Sheet that I showed you earlier, I selected sample 3, which was person 1 and person 4. That's why I'm selecting this X. I selected sample 3, which has a mean of 2. So just select whichever sample, just circle whichever X corresponds with your selected sample. And then after that, just do the same thing, but for sheet 2, and write sheet 2 up here, and then do the same thing for sheet 3. And then after you're finished with that, answer these follow-up questions. So the first one is, which situation out of the 3 sheets that you did had the lowest standard error? And just tell me the answer. Then just write a short answer, just 1 sentence is fine, about what the standard error tells you about a sampling distribution, what does it measure? And then just another short answer. Describe the relationship between the mean of the population and the mean of the sampling distribution. Once again, 1 sentence is fine, or even 2 sentences possibly. And then just put all of this, the diagrams and the follow-up answers on your own sheet of paper, and then upload that along with the Google Sheet that has the 3 sheets inside of it. And that is this activity.